Over the last several years, I built hundreds of landing pages in over 80 niches, taking their conversion rates as low as 0.3% to as high as 15% to get more leads. And through all of the testing I've done, I've found that there were just 32 tricks that you can use to immediately boost your lead flow, pipeline volume, or booked sales or booked demos just by tweaking your landing page. Trick number 1, use progressive disclosure. As humans, we typically want two things, but they actually conflict with one another. On one hand, we want power and a ton of options to satisfy our needs. And on the other hand, we want simplicity and we don't have time to go through a ton of options. It's a classic paradox. Progressive disclosure solves this by showing people the basics first. And once they're hooked and they've comprehended that, then you gradually show them more complex information. You probably don't even know it, but this trick is being used on applications that you use daily. Google Maps uses it by showing you less information at first, but then as you zoom in, you're presented with more street names and landmarks. That's progressive disclosure. LinkedIn does the same exact thing by showing you just a few lines of information, and then only when you click read more, you're presented with more complex information and the full post. That's progressive disclosure. On your landing page, you can actually do this for your get a quote or your contact button. Simply ask people for simple information up front like their email or their first name, and only once they do that, then you present more options. So psychologically, they've already completed one action and they're way more likely to complete more actions as a result, and way more likely to do that as opposed to if they just landed on a separate contact page. Trick number 2, fix your contact section, fix your conversions. This is by far the lowest hanging fruit to increase your conversions. This is what I typically see for contact sections on websites or landing pages. It looks fine on the surface, but once you start digging deeper, you realize that they're committing major conversion sins. I already know I'm on the contact page. You don't need to repeat contact us, let's talk. It's redundant and it's a complete wasted use of your headline. Instead, what I want to see is a clear benefit-driven headline as to why I should fill out that form in the first place. Give me an actual reason or incentive to fill out the form. This should then be followed by 3 to 5 additional benefits or selling points. Following that, you need to actually explain what happens when someone reaches out. Paint them a vivid picture of what happens next and what are the next steps or the next process. Do not do something like TevPro where their subcopy literally just states the obvious. And the last thing is you're spending all this time and effort to get people to the contact section, but naturally people will drop off because they have that last minute hesitation. So in order to mitigate that, what I like to do is put social proof at the point of form entry. Things like reviews or testimonials. This is going to get people over the edge to actually convert and fill out your form. Trick number 3, use numbers whenever possible instead of just words. One of my favorite tricks is to transform generic headlines into powerful copy just by injecting numbers in them, because numbers are the one thing that people trust more than anything else. As I always like to say, the numbers don't lie. 50,400 happy customers is way more impactful than just trusted by thousands of customers. Likewise, helping you increase revenue is not as impactful as helping you increase revenue by 185%. Quantify the value as much as possible. People are naturally drawn to numbers because they're objective and actually measurable. Whether it's customer testimonials, social proof, or revenue growth, the more that you can back up your claims with hard, cold numbers, the way more likely people are to trust your product or service and actually convert. Trick number 4, avoid dead zones and wasted usage of space. Not enough people talk about this, and it's destroying your conversions, especially on mobile. You need to think of every section of your landing page as if you're getting permission from someone, right? Permission for them to engage, permission for them to continue scrolling and actually convert. So that means that every section of your landing page should be thoughtfully planned out such that you're maximizing content display to users without overwhelming them. But what I often see is landing pages like this where so much real estate is wasted. Look at how much white space there is just pushing down all of the information beneath the fold for no apparent reason. Compare that to this landing page where there's so much information displayed above the fold without overwhelming people. It includes all of the conversion fundamentals that we would want to have in place without having to make users scroll, which is ultimately going to lead to way more conversions and leads. Trick number 5, treat your headlines like it's the only thing people will see. Statistically, people will only read 20% of the content on your landing page. The other 80%, they just scan. So People are skimming through your page and they're just looking for answers quickly and efficiently. One of my favorite tricks is to operate under the framework that somebody will only read the headlines on your landing page. Just imagine that they don't even read any of the body text whatsoever. Is your benefit clearly articulated in just the headline itself for your product or service? 90% of the times it's not. Take for example this landing page where every headline is generic, meaningless, and vague. It doesn't even communicate the end benefit, and I have no idea why I should actually care. Compare that to this where every headline is benefit oriented and it actually answers the question of why I should care, where if I don't even read the body text, I'm already hooked and I'm already willing to convert. Trick number 6, sell benefits, not features. A feature is what a product or service includes. It's a specific attribute or component of a product or service, and this doesn't excite people. What actually excites people is benefits. Benefits is what your product or service actually does for your customers. Benefits are derived from the feature, and it's more focused on how does it solve your user's problem or benefit their day-to-day life. I always like to use the example of wireless headphones. The feature is that it's wireless, but what is the benefit? I don't have to worry about hassle of untangling my cords and all of this mess all over my desk. That's the benefit. So in order to implement this, I want you to go through every headline on your landing page or website and ask yourself, so that. For example, for a client Inboxy, their old headline just focused on the feature of email deliverability that allowed people's emails to land in the inbox and not go into spam. But now if we take it a step further and we ask ourselves, so that, land more emails in the inbox so that you can reach more people, so that you can book more meetings, so that you can close more deals. That is what people care about at the end of the day, and that's exactly what we focused on in the form of an A/B test, and we saw a 134% lift in conversions and qualified leads. Trick number 7, a landing page is not just for the purposes of ads. This is more of a broader concept, but I think it's important for you to understand before we continue with the rest of the tricks. A lot of people have this misconception that a landing page is just a page that you send paid traffic to. However, a lot of marketers, including myself, like to think of a landing page more broadly as any page that somebody lands on. So this could be your homepage, your services page, it could be a page that's targeted towards organic SEO. It's whatever is the first page that people land on. And the thing you have to understand is that not everyone is going to click on your ad. A handful of people will actually search up your brand name after seeing your ad and just go organically to your website or another page of your site. That is a landing page. And that is exactly why I like to treat every page like it's a landing page. Whether it's your homepage, whether it's your services page, it doesn't matter. We rank for multiple keywords on the first page of Google for cities near us, and we literally practice what we preach, where you can see that the landing pages we create are literally using all of the same principles that I'm talking about right now. Trick number 8, reduce friction near your critical points of action. Whenever you want people to take action, you have to reduce FUDs as much as possible, which stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubts. People naturally have a lot of anxiety around filling out a form or buying anything these days. So you want to reduce FUDs near your critical points of action in areas like your CTA button, your form, etc. Easy ways of doing this are things like highlighting no credit card required if you're B2B or SaaS, highlighting a free trial, easy cancellation, money back guarantees, or even just reviews or social proof. This is going to lead to a lot more people actually taking action and ending up converting. We did this for Soul Thrillers right underneath their CTA button, and we saw a 64% lift in conversions just from that one change alone. Trick number 9, spend 90% of your effort on the above the fold section. The above the fold is the topmost area of any website, and this is the only section statistically that 60% of people will never scroll past, but it's also the only section that 100% of people will see. If you don't nail down this section, nothing else matters on your landing page. Even though the section is so critical, I can't tell you how many websites I see like this where they completely mess up their hero section and a complete wasted use of real estate. I've done a lot of videos extensively about what makes a good above the fold, but at a high level, you need a benefit-driven headline followed by sub-copy that clearly articulates and reinforces your value prop, followed by a clear CTA button that's benefit-driven and actionable, followed by social proof above the fold, and lastly, an image or video that complements and reinforces your copy. Here's an example of a before and after hero section that we did for one of our clients that led to a 132% lift in conversions and qualified leads. Trick number 10, Rewrite copy to always be clear over clever. It's really easy to fall into the trap of making your landing page stand out with flashy design, quirky copy, and unconventional layout. But whenever that creativity comes at the cost of clarity, it's going to hurt your conversions. At the end of the day, your visitors only care about 3 things. What is this? Who is this for? And what do I do next? And if those answers are not obvious within seconds, you're already losing a huge potential chunk of your customers. Take, for example, this page where their headline is "We translate geek into human speak." I mean, it's just trying to be clever, and I have absolutely no idea what it means, so very, very poor headline. In this headline, it says human-enabled, AI-driven. I mean, this is literally a platform that auto-replies to leads for cold email. The headline has nothing to do with that. It's not even communicative whatsoever of the value prop. I can literally take the same landing page and change the copy using my AI landing page prompts to create high-converting copy in a matter of seconds that is substantially better than the original. Link in the description below. Trick 11, remove elements instead of adding more. People like to get bogged down in all of the things that they need to add to their landing page to increase conversions. But the irony of that is that sometimes it's not about adding more, it's actually about removing more. There's this notion called the paradox of choice. Give people too much choice, it equals no choice at all. For example, this landing page has over 13 buttons and 13 different actions that I could potentially take. I'm just going to get completely overwhelmed, and I'm probably going to just immediately exit the page altogether. So really take a hard look at every section of your landing page and remove any elements that are not absolutely necessary. We did that for one of our telecom clients, and we saw a massive lift in conversions from this before and after. Trick number 12, use images to do the selling. When it comes to creating a high converting landing page, images play a huge role. As humans, we're visual creatures. We tend to resonate with visuals a lot more than text, and the human brain actually processes images 60,000 times faster than text. So images need to be strategically chosen to reinforce your value prop. What I often see is brands use images that have absolutely nothing to do with their messaging whatsoever, and it's not even clear who they are or what they do just based on the image alone. We often create custom animations and graphics for our clients all the time in the B2B space, the SaaS space, you name it. It helps people visualize what the client's product or service actually is, and it also helps to subtly communicate their value prop and who they are and what they do at the same time. Trick number 13, visual hierarchy is your best friend. Have you ever wondered why some websites look super confusing and chaotic to look at, while some websites naturally guide your eyes to where they want you to go? This has to do with the concept called visual hierarchy, and it's one of those more advanced techniques that not a lot of people talk about. For example, here's a page that is the absolute opposite of what you should be doing. On this landing page, there's no visual hierarchy whatsoever. There's no clear distinction between headline, body text, detail button at all. Compared to this example where there's a clear flow of information from top to bottom, and it's naturally guiding my eyes to where the attention wants to go. I always like to use this graphic when explaining this to clients. You can see a clear flow of information from all of the different headings, and they're using elements like font style, color, weight, etc. to guide your eyes. Trick number 14, reduce redundant form fields. The key distinction here is redundant. For certain marketing channels, adding friction is completely fine and actually necessary to get quality leads and filter out the crap. But redundant ones should be eliminated. The classic one that I always go through when auditing sites is, do you really need to ask for first name and last name? Sometimes you do, but if you don't, just get rid of that. Just combine it into full name and you're just saved an extra field. Another one is when you're asking for somebody's website URL and their company name. If I already have your website URL, it literally takes me like 3 seconds to figure out your company name from there. So do I really need to ask for both pieces of information? The more form fields you reduce, the less friction and less time it takes for somebody to fill out your form, and therefore the more conversions and more leads you will get. Trick number 15, make your design look better. This is something that a lot of people will disagree with me on, but it's a hill that I'm willing to die on. Good design does matter despite the narrative that ugly pages can also convert. There was a study done by Stanford that found that 46% of people judge a brand's credibility just based on the design of the landing page alone. I'm not talking about crazy designs and animations flying everywhere. That's actually going to hurt your conversions. You still have to be clear and you still want to make things simple. But what I am talking about is something that visually stands out and looks good. It just establishes credibility and professionalism, and it just shows the user that you've actually spent the time and money to invest in your brand and invest in your brand image. If I'm in comparison mode and I'm looking at your site versus a competitor site, subconsciously, if your site is poorly put together and your competitor's site or landing page is a lot better looking, I'm probably going to go with your competitor because I just feel like they've invested a lot more into their brand looks more credible, more professional, and I'm going to lean more into that direction. And that's exactly what your users are thinking as well. This is especially important for high ticket B2B because we deal with a lot of clients that they're selling to enterprise customers. So you can't have a really bad design landing page when you're selling to a higher sophisticated audience. Trick number 16, follow the F or Z shape pattern. People don't read top to bottom. They actually read in an F or Z shape pattern. That's why placing your headline, your subheadline, and your CTA button along those paths works super well. It's how we naturally consume content. If you ignore this, your messaging gets missed. But if you design with those patterns in mind, your design flows effortlessly and converts effortlessly as well. Our client in the education space did not keep this principle in mind, where their content was right aligned and their hamburger menu was right aligned as well. We fixed all of this for them on mobile, leading to a 74% lift in conversions and leads on just mobile alone. Trick 17, follow a proven layout. A lot of people get bogged down in what the design of their landing page should be. How should I design my hero section, my CTA section, my value prop section, etc., etc. You can save a huge chunk of time by just using a proven layout or framework that already works. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. We literally have a proven landing page framework that has everything already mapped out for you so that you can literally copy paste and apply it for your own business. It's in Figma in a prototyping tool. I'll put the link in the description below. Trick number 18, use single column forms instead of multi-column. There's a ton of empirical evidence that suggests that single column forms actually outperforms multi-column forms. This is something that I personally seen as well running A/B tests for tons of our high traffic B2B and SaaS websites. The fundamental issue with multi-column forms is you're basically making people read left to right, but then also top to bottom. So it's kind of disrupting the flow of information and it's making it way more overwhelming for people to fill out the form. With single column forms, everything is stacked vertically. And so psychologically, people perceive the form to be a lot easier to fill out and it actually leads to higher completion rates. If you have a lot of form fields and you don't want to stack everything vertically, what I would recommend instead of doing a multi-column form is doing a step-by-step breakdown where you basically have a progress bar and you're separating and breaking down your questions into multiple different steps. This is completely fine if your application process requires more info upfront. Trick number 19, make it easy for users to convert at any stage of the journey. Visitors don't always land on your landing page and convert immediately. In fact, what happens more often than not is visitors will take their time. They're going to go through your content, they're going to read different sections, and they might even get distracted along the way. And that is why you need to strategically place CTA buttons throughout every section of your landing page. So that way, whether a user is skimming at the top, they're at the middle of the site, or they're at the bottom, there's always an easy, visible way to take action at every step of the journey. We actually saw this for Influence Hunter through their click map data using Microsoft Clarity, where we actually saw the buttons towards the middle and the bottom of the page registering a ton of clicks because people read that section, they resonated with it, and they decided to convert. Trick number 20, your landing page should mimic a sales call. Think of your landing page like a great sales call. In a sales call, you don't just go into the solution straight away. You typically lead with the problem, you understand the person's goals, their pain points, etc., and then you lead with the solution after. And so your landing page is no different. A lot of people have this misconception that your landing page has to be short. Well, actually, most of the highest converting landing pages that we've built, they're actually quite long. There's multiple value prop sections throughout the entire page. And the thing you have to understand is that your audience is on a journey. And sometimes that journey requires a bit more time and a bit more information in order to get them over the edge to actually reach out. So when you have a longer landing page, it actually gives you the opportunity to address multiple pain points, address multiple goals, and address multiple motivations that your end customer might have. When you look at many of our landing pages, they're often multiple sections long because we want to build trust with people. We want to address their pain points and their motivations. And a longer landing page gives us the opportunity to do so, which also leads to much higher conversions. Trick 21, put social proof above the fold. When you look at any of the world's top converting websites or landing page, they always put social proof above the fold. That's the first place you see it. This is the section that 60% of people never scroll past. So you have to give people a reason to scroll and a reason to trust your brand. And social proof builds that immediate trust and credibility right off the bat. The important part is to use social proof that's actually relevant to your brand. If you only have 3 reviews, maybe you don't want to highlight the fact that you have 3 reviews at the top. Instead, you might want to highlight the hand-picked testimonials from those 3 reviews and put those at the top instead. Trick number 22, use comparison tables. One of my favorite ways to increase conversions, especially for audiences that are often in comparison mode, is to leverage comparison tables. It's a great way to show what makes your solution different than the status quo and other competitors in the marketplace, as well as also highlighting your value prop. We did this for our client Influence Hunter and saw a 52% lift in leads just from this one change alone, because we knew that a lot of people would often talk to multiple influencer marketing firms before deciding on the final one. Trick number 23, place your social proof strategically. One of my favorite hacks is to use social proof tactically to back up your claims. Instead of just saying a benefit of what your product or service does, like saves time or saves money, actually back it up with a testimonial that is handpicked that literally shares those exact same sentiments. Or let's say you have a point on your landing page about a common pain point that people experience and how your solution solves that problem. Literally put a testimonial talking about how that person went through that exact problem and how your solution helped them solve it. Back up your claims with testimonials. We do this for our own landing page and practice what we preach, where for several key sections, we're talking about how people struggle with conversions on their site or landing page and how we turn that into a revenue generating machine. And then we complement that with pieces of social proof that highlights that exact pain point that our customers were feeling, and it shows the transformation of how they were able to turn their websites into conversion machines. Trick number 24, implement your closer at the bottom. In understanding how people navigate landing pages, a huge chunk of people are just going to completely skim by and just go straight to the bottom of your landing page. So to capitalize on this, you want to introduce what I call a closer section, which is basically that last final push to get someone over the edge to actually convert. In fact, it basically mimics that of the above the fold section. So you need all of the same things, like a benefit-driven headline, 3 to 5 bullet points of why I should reach out, social proof, reduction of FUDs, and a clear CTA button. Lots of people miss out on this and lose out on a ton of potential conversions. Trick number 25, data is your best friend when it comes to landing pages. If you're not analyzing data on your landing page, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. Data is what ultimately drives decisions. It's the thing that shapes strategies, and it tells you whether what you're doing is actually working or not. Without data, you're just flying blind and you're just guessing. Now, lots of people focus on the data that's just table stakes, things like conversions or traffic, etc. But what I want you to do is to install a tool like Microsoft Clarity, which lets you go a huge layer deeper and actually look at heat map data, see where people are clicking, see how far they're scrolling. This is the stuff that Google Analytics cannot do. Then you can use this data to identify what's working, what's not, and then iterate upon there. Trick 26. The most powerful word in copywriting is you. You want to really shift your mindset from we do this or we do XYZ and really focus it on what do you gain? What do your customers gain? Focus everything on your end customer and why they should care. Here's an example of a landing page where we wrote all of the copy focusing on the end customer and using the word you to give a compelling reason for prospects to reach out. Trick 27, make your testimonials look credible. I see so many brands putting testimonials on their landing page just for the sake of it without establishing any sort of credibility whatsoever. Take, for example, this landing page where they literally don't even have an image for their testimonial. Now compare that to this where I actually have images and videos of customers who've used a product or service, which just looks 10 times credible, and it's something I can actually verify. People trust reviews a lot more when you put an actual image of the person leaving the review or the source in which the review was left, whether it was Google or Capterra or something else. The reason being is because it's actually verifiable. I can go and check to see if those reviews are legitimate. Trick 28, constantly be testing. No matter how good your landing page looks or how well it's performing, there's always room to improve. Your headlines, your CTAs, your images, your layouts, even the tiniest of tweaks can result in massive improvements in your conversions. The beautiful part about testing is you can quickly determine what works and what doesn't. And once you determine what works, you can start to create a snowball effect where you basically start to compound test and compound growth on your landing page. We've gotten clients to 8 to 10% conversion rates on their landing page, but it doesn't happen overnight. overnight. It takes lots of testing, it takes a lot of iteration, and it takes a lot of improvement. But now those clients have a high performing asset that literally produces leads for them on autopilot and on demand. Trick 29. FAQs can be your secret weapon if they're done right. If you do FAQs right, it can completely reduce all objections that people might have in real time. Really focus on addressing the common objections, reducing fear and uncertainty, and doing all of that upfront. The way to get this information is by actually interviewing your customers. You already have all of the objections and fear and uncertainty sitting right in front of you. It's in your sales calls. It's in your conversations with customers. You have to go and extract that information and put it on your landing page so that you can address it upfront before somebody even jumps on a call in the first place. Trick number 30. Mobile deserves its own layout. It's not a scaled down desktop. Button placements, image sizes, font hierarchy, all of that needs to be specifically thought out separately for mobile and optimized for mobile. That is why when we design any landing page at our agency, we always create a separate design for desktop and for mobile. This really helps us create tailored experiences. Check out this mobile design where they literally just took their desktop design and copy pasted it on mobile. We revamped their entire hero section so that it's actually optimized for mobile. Number 31. Fast is good, but don't butcher design for load time. There's been this narrative floating around that page speed is the end all be all. I'm not talking about the extreme scenarios. Obviously, if your landing page takes more than 10 seconds to load, I'm probably going to exit and I'm not going to wait for it. But what I'm talking about is people obsessing over saving literally milliseconds. And the worst part is they're actually sacrificing design in the process of doing that. And a fast page will definitely not fix a terrible design. People often forget that there's something called a curiosity effect, where if somebody clicks on an ad, they're willing to wait an extra second or two if they believe that the page will actually deliver value. Trick 32. Qualitative testing is sometimes more important than quantitative testing. Using tools like Google Analytics or Microsoft Clarity can only get you so far. It's going to tell you where people are clicking or how long they're spending on a page, but it doesn't tell you why. That is why for any landing page engagement, we always combine quantitative testing with qualitative research. Qualitative is where you actually interview your customers. So for any client, we actually interview their customers. We use a tool like UserBrain where we set up a user testing question and we ask people, what are your first impressions upon landing on the site or landing page? Can you go through the process of finding this section and talking out loud through your experience? Using UserBrain, you can filter for your exact target demographic and audience so that you're only interviewing people that would actually use your product or service. I'm telling you, this is an absolute gold mine of information. So now you could take all of this information and go and apply it to your landing page. Or you could check out this video here to watch the next one where I take on a challenge to build a real landing page for a real business in just 4 hours, condensed into 20 minutes. Oh, and one more thing. That business is actually my own business. So you know that I'm not holding anything back to make that page the most effective it could be. See you over there if you want to get more leads.